human to an animal.
But why not?
To a pig. Can you compare yourself to a fly?
To
an insect? You're not making a comparison. You're putting me there instead of them.
Yeah, I'm saying like, how would you feel?
You can't say that.
But why not?
Well, for me, I'm Muslim, so we eat purely halal meat.
Okay.
So there is rules that you have to follow when you're butchering animals for meat or produce. So one of the examples that I can think of is when you kill a cow or a sheep, you have to make sure that it's going through the least amount of pain possible before it dies. Even to the extent of it can't be around other sheep that can sense the fear from that sheep in order for the meat to be permissible to eat. So from my religion, this stuff is very written in stone in terms of animal cruelty is a big thing. The food that we eat, it's good to know where it's coming from, and that that animals are being treated in a good way. So I like the awareness here, and hopefully it motivates other people to have more awareness for other things, because that's how you solve issues, right?
Yeah, exactly. Awareness and
it's the first step.
People knowing and then making decisions. And I guess, so to your point, I've got kind of two follow-up questions. Firstly, how do you guarantee that when you go to the shops today? How do you know what they're doing is what you're believing in?
Yeah, so
do you just trust the system?
That's a very good question. I've done a lot of research into this myself. So there's the halal certificate that you can get standardized. As things are more commercialized, the standardization can be a little bit iffy. You can say, oh, they're just putting that on the meat so they can sell it, but because they need to kill 1,000 chickens, they're going to have to do it the commercial way, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, and the same with other industries. So like British, the red tractor farming approved, the RSPCA assured. This is, standards that people know and trust. Yet time and time again, people go and investigate these places and they really don't live up to these standards. They see pigs getting, blunt force trauma, which is against their standards, but it still happens because, like you say, it's commercialized. The volume of animals that they're slaughtering, it's very hard to keep to these sort of standards and principles.
Yeah, and I think, checking and requesting, Freedom of Information Act, or investigating these companies or, these standards and people that are out there making sure they're doing their job. That's quite important as well. The same way, from the halal industry to this industry, it should be done across. But for myself, the way I can eat meat with the least cruelty is to buy halal.
And this is my second question. So I understand that you're doing it to reduce the cruelty in terms of, unnecessary cruelty to animals. You're doing it to follow maybe a principle that you believe in.
Yes.
But if there was a choice that you have, the most brutal, awful cruelty, and then you have your version of reduced cruelty, but then you have the third option of no cruelty, no harm to animals, what would make you not want to choose that option?
But in terms, that really comes back to a kind of moral frame in which we view life. So some would say that if there was a world without no cruelty, there'd be a world with no good as well. So you cannot eradicate, people being cruel to animals.
As much as we might like to, I think I know what you're trying to say.
It will always be a version of less, because humans are not perfect in the way that they do things. People get greedy with money, they want to commercialize this industry, they try to cut corners. Where we don't need to sedate these cows, we can just put them. It does come back to how you view the world. How I view the world is in a good way. So I do what my religion tells me to do. I believe in God. And try to be the best.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Are you sort of told you have to eat meat then in terms of your religion? Because if it's possible to choose an option that doesn't involve cruelty, eating plant-based diets, for example, and then you have a choice between choosing an animal that doesn't have to go to slaughter and one does. How does that?
Well, we kind of believe in my religion in terms of, to answer your first point of whether I believe it just because I'm told. The answer is no.
Yeah.
But it's also yes, because I believe in a higher power. Therefore, I believe that information is correct. So I can take that and have no doubts about its value. I can do my research on things that I'm not sure of.
Yeah.
Once I've reached my conclusions, I can agree. So to answer your question about the second part of your question, you could remind me of again.
So if you have that choice, for example, to choose plant-based foods versus slaughtering animals.
The earth is created and animals, we're at the top of the food chain. So I believe the world is built in a way where God has given us these things to get resources from. I believe that you can extract value or produce from animals in a good way that doesn't harm you.
If you have a choice to be kind and compassionate to an animal,
Of course, kind of passionate to humans.
yeah, I agree. But if you have that choice, that third option of you can choose to buy
I will still eat meat. I need my meat.
even though you know that you don't have to slaughter those animals, you can live
How
happily.
am I going to eat meat without the animals being slaughtered?
So you don't have to eat meat. This is the thing. You don't have to eat animals to be happy, healthy, and live.
It's different opinions. We disagree.
Yeah.
I think there's things in meat that hormones and specific nutrients that are not found anywhere else.
So just to clarify, you can live, thrive through all forms of life on a plant-based diet. I haven't eaten an animal product in over 4 years. You know, I'm fully healthy.
You know what? Maybe I'll give it a go. Maybe I'll try without meat and try with meat, and I'll let you know.
But know that you can be Muslim in your beliefs and be vegan, meaning you don't have to cause harm to animals.
But that's the difference. I believe that eating animals is not causing harm to me.
But even though, if you were to put yourself in their position and someone was to slice your throat, you don't think that's we're all animals. We're all non-human
The natural
animals.
cycle of life is a hierarchy, right? So a hierarchy of beings, a hierarchy of plants. That's how nature works.
In terms of the circle of life,
nature would kill these animals off in a more worse way than humans do to take
but when
their
you
meat.
bring sort of like cows into slaughterhouses and you slit their
Don't get me
throats,
wrong,
where does that fit into the natural form of life?
The commercial aspect of, slaughtering these animals, blah blah, etc. You described. I agree. There should be better practices, but in terms of eating meat, it's two different topics.
You don't think it's the same?
Meat in the middle there.
Where do you buy your products from then? If it's not from
Local butchers.
that's the only place you get it, and you believe that those animals don't suffer.
Yeah, for sure.
So would you put yourself in their position?
Why would I put myself
Just
to die?
to empathise. If it's no problem.
That's a very question framed in a very strange way to ask someone. Would you?
But do you know why I'm asking that?
Humans, you cannot compare a human to a pig.
But
Let's be honest.
I mean, you can compare whatever to
Would
whatever.
you put them as equals though?
It doesn't have to mean they're equals. It's
So then if you're asking me to substitute, you cannot do that equation.
The point I'm making is whenever there is an oppression in society, whatever it is, whether it's human oppression,
Yeah.
you should always consider from the oppressee's perspective, like the victim's perspective, how would they feel in that situation?
We're comparing humans to humans, correct? So
Now we can,
You
sure.
can actually dictate that comparison. But you cannot compare a human to an animal,
But why not?
to a pig. Can you compare yourself to a fly? An insect?
So when
If someone weighted your life like an insect or a mouse, would you accept that?
No, I'm not saying we're equals. I'm saying you can make a comparison to know that, let's say, a pig.
You're not making a comparison. You're putting me there instead of them. You
Yeah,
can't
I'm
say
saying.
that.
Yeah, I'm saying like, how would you feel?
You can't say that.
But why not? Because whenever we look at other injustices, you put yourself in a victim's perspective. Doesn't mean you're the same value. It's just, okay, if you were.
In order to compare a situation, you need to keep the variables consistent, right? So I cannot compare an apple and a plane.
But it's just to look at it from their
So what can I
perspective.
say? I throw the apple. Oh, how does the apple feel when it's flying the same
But that's
speed
different.
as a
So
plane?
what
It's a flawed question.
the comparison
Anyway, I
is
actually
with
need
other
to go. I
sentient
actually need
beings.
to go,
So
but
okay,
it was
look,
a nice
I'll tell you what.
conversation.
Look up being
It was a nice
vegan
conversation.
in your religion. Like I said at the very start, it's about raising awareness and having an honest conversation.
No, I like the conversation style. I think it's good to be an activist in things that you care about. I think it's a good
Yeah.
thing. Not many people do it, so hats off to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your honest conversation, and yeah, have a look at the resource
Nice
and
to meet you.
have a good rest of the day. Thank you.